As the world passes into the second half of the 20th century after the birth of Christ, Western man is confronted for the first time in history with the problem of whether his world and his works will outlast the century, whether his culture will survive. Dissatisfaction and boredom with the daily routines of life are increasingly apparent. And no matter how streamlined the design of modern living, everyday tasks in the 20th century are often regarded with distaste. In this age of tension, man is assiduous and eager in his search for relaxation. Too often, unhappy with himself, he drifts into easy avenues of escape. Creatively reflecting the anxious temper of the times is modern art. An impatience with traditional forms and limitations had launched the 20th century artist on a restless search for new ways of expression and for new techniques. Today's wide acceptance of modern art indicates that the public, too, shares that restlessness.
During the past 50 years, all the arts have had to accept the triumph of the machine. Traditional forms of painting and sculpture have no function in our streamlined existence. If they are to find a place in the civilization of the next half-century, the visual arts must effect a compromise with the machine.
Mental illness and the breakdown of the individual personality have become the medical profession's great new problems. Multiplied and magnified, the insecurity of modern man has been tragically demonstrated in the catastrophe of total war. And as the 20th century reaches the halfway point, the scientist's dream of unifying the basic concepts of the universe continues to occupy the genius of Professor Albert Einstein. More than any other group of individuals, the world's great scientists, like physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, realize the grave responsibilities of our new knowledge.
Science has profoundly altered the conditions of man's life, both materially and in ways of the spirit as well. It has extended the range of questions in which man has a choice. It has extended man's freedom to make significant decisions. No one can predict what vast new continents of knowledge the future of science will discover. But we know that as long as men are free to ask what they will, free to say what they think, free to think what they must, science will never regress, and freedom itself will never be wholly lost.
The application of this scientific knowledge has a direct bearing on the everyday life and habits of the average man. How science will shape his future and how modern industry can bring nations and individuals ever closer together is revealed by RCA's chairman, David Sarnoff.
In the next half century, people will see as well as hear around the world. Pocket-sized radio instruments will enable individuals to communicate with anyone, anywhere. Newspapers, magazines, mail, and messages will be sent through the air at lightning speed and reproduced in the home.
But material progress alone has not solved the problems which still plague mankind. With all the advantages provided him by the industrial age, he is nonetheless today in need of those higher concepts which can lead him to the happiness and peace of mind that he is eternally seeking. That a spiritual renewal throughout the world is on its way and that man once more is becoming aware of the worth of contemplation is the belief held by the great French philosopher Jacques Maritain.
Man succeeds more and more in mastering matter, but we are still in a prehistoric age as regards the application of the gospel's principles of justice and love to social existence and to the life of nations.
In this age of fear, war, and tension, men still hope they are halfway to a world of peace and harmony. Today, this hope is embodied in the organization of the United Nations. For survival rests now more than ever on honest cooperation among nations. In the second half of the 20th century, man must determine whether or not future generations shall live in freedom and at peace. Time marches on.